Hi Sam, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well myself. Glad to see you hopped on. Just want to go over, you took a look at the confidentiality form I sent your way last week.
Yes, I did.
Perfect. I know we were already discussed in full last week. I just wanted to make sure you actually got the form and you like viewed it. Perfect. Awesome. So what's going on this week? What's been up?
Um, I have been in kind of a conflict with my sister, and it's been kind of hard because we're usually really close. We've always been really close, but we're not really talking right now, and that's been rough.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, you brought up last session how close you were, especially with like going to grandma and grandpa's house a lot growing up. What happened? Or what happened? How long has this been going on for?
Um, so um basically she told me in January that she didn't really want to talk for a while. She wanted to get some distance, and part of it is that she feels like my parents kind of made her responsible for me. And so she feels like she can't handle hearing about things in my life without kind of making them her responsibility. And so she said she just needed a little time to think about that. And then she came back to me about a month ago and just said like she kind of wants us to just keep things like surface level and she doesn't really want to hear too much about what's going on in my life. Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out. What was that?
Yeah, no, no worries. How did that make you feel hearing that?
Um, I think it brought up a lot of my insecurities, just because like, yeah, it was just the two of us growing up and I've always kind of felt like the kid who had the problems, and everything. So like I felt like she was kind of saying like you're basically like you mess up too much for me to deal with you. Like our relationship is too heavy for me to want to interact with you. Like yeah.
And how did that make you feel though? You skipped that part.
I did skip that part. Sad. I felt sad. I felt rejected. I felt inadequate for sure.
Wow. Those are really harsh words. Like, not just harsh in the way that they come off, but like those really sit on your chest. Those feelings of just, like you said, inadequate, not being adequate enough. And I'm sure it really just like felt like a jab to the chest for someone who's been part of your life, who's taking care of you for so long, for them to kind of say this form of their truth. Were you expecting this at all?
I do feel like we kind of have grown apart over the past few years. And one thing that she said that really bothered me was that she said she felt like I only come to her with problems and that I only come to her to vent. And that hurt because I have kind of felt for the past few years that I couldn't go to her to vent because I could tell that it was too much and that she was overwhelmed by it. And she even told me, like, I feel like everything you tell me is really sad. And so I kind of stopped telling her things. So when she said, I only come to her to vent, I think it felt confusing because I was like, well, I can't like just tell you about the good things in my life and for us to also like and have us still be close
Yeah.
in the way that I think you want. So
And especially when you're going through things as well, like you need your support people right there. And for them to say like everything you are bringing up is too much or too heavy, um, that can be challenging taking on others' problems as well. and not taking on other people's problems, but like when someone you care about comes to you and they keep saying like highlighting, I guess, a negative of what's going on in their life, because usually it's not when we separate from our people, we no longer have the mundane of doing
Hmm.
simple tasks together, of building that alliance. When we go to our safety people for that comfort or for processing or whatever it may be, it slowly starts to chip away from that building of trust that there's other
Hmm.
things going on as well and not just a negative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because I mean, we lived together growing up, obviously, and then we lived together for a little bit when I was in college too. And yeah, I think we've and then we were neighbors for a little while too. And so it's just kind of like we've lived, physically apart for so long that I do think, yeah, there hasn't been room, like you said, for the mundane in our conversations. And so it's just been like, and I was in like a very rough relationship. So it was like a lot of what was going on in my life was just like heavy and stressful. And so, yeah, it was hard to think of things to say that weren't about that.
That's so true. And when you're in a mindset like that, it's really hard to get out of it or be able to like pull back enough to see what else is going on around. And it sounds like you care so much about your sister with like just a lot of different things you've been through and how she's been a constant in your life. Um, where where have you guys kind of left off with everything? You said that she's happy with keeping it surface level for now, but what does that really mean?
Yeah, she doesn't want me to share anything with her that is negative, and I kind of told her I don't really know how to, because uh, she has kind of said similar things on and off over the past couple years, and um, but then like when we're talking less, she's like, I feel like you're pulling away from me, and so I said I don't really know how to maintain the kind of closeness that it seems like you want and also withhold difficult things that I'm going through.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I told her, I mean, that can be us just keeping things surface level and only really like talking when the family gets together. And she was like, well, if that's what it has to be, that's fine, but that makes me really sad. And I was like, yeah, it makes me sad too, but it's just kind of like, I don't know how else to really deal with it.
Yeah. Wow. Um, I'm just thinking about everything you said. There were just a few different things that like my brain went this way and then that way. Um,
Yeah.
Mike, I have a question so that I can kind of have a better understanding of where you are. When you, there are two things. The first one is you said that you felt like the past few months you have been keeping things surface level. So
Hmm.
when she came to you saying like, hey, no, I needed to be surface level, and you're like, I've been doing that. How did that make you feel? Where does your mind go to?
Well, I think I felt confused and like misunderstood because, yeah, like I said, she said, I've been the person you vent to. And I was like, not for a long time, I've been, and so when she said, like, let's keep it surface level, I was like, I don't really know how to do that more than I am right now, besides being like extremely superficial. Like we're relatives who interact on holidays, and make small talk, which I hate. I hate small talk. So I just, yeah, I felt frustrated, I felt misunderstood and just confused.
I wonder if her surface level is equivalent to the mundane and building that rapport
Mm.
back up.
That could be.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
With how
I,
strongly
no,
you
I think I should
reacted.
ask her more.
Yeah. From it's unfortunate we need to start winding down soon. Um, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's very important to understand where the boundaries are and fully line them out. Boundaries do not mean you don't care about someone. Boundaries mean that you care enough that you are willing to expose yourself so that they can remain in your life. You both said you were
Mhm.
so sad if you had to separate. And it sounds like that's not what either of you wanted, but you don't necessarily know how to be anything but an open book. And she doesn't really know how to filter through information.
Yeah.
You're laughing. I feel like I got that. Got that
Yeah,
correct.
I feel like that's been our dynamic for like a really long time.
Ah, okay. I'm really glad you said that because I think we have a wonderful place to use as a like a diving board for next week and kind of getting to learn more about not just who your sister is, but who she is as a person and maybe possibly how her mind just might work differently than yours.
Yeah.
Figuring out maybe we can do a little bit more reflection on where to go and where you want to go and how to confidently get there. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. Sam, you did a phenomenal job tonight. I'm really looking forward to next week. And no matter what, you're going to be okay. And things are going to work out the way that they need to. You really got this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I'll see you next week.
All right, see you soon.